Nekima brought up a comment about the weak mayor system, and a question here from Kate in Minneapolis. And this can be a short answer if you want, or not. Minneapolis is considered a weak mayor system because of the way the charter outlines powers of the mayor and the city council. And given that the mayor's relationship with the council, especially the council president, is key. Barb Johnson has been council president for more than 10 years. If she wins re-election, will you support her continuing as council president? And if not, who will you support? Jacob Frey, I'll start with you.
I have a whole lot of respect for Council President Barb Johnson, but I do believe that we should have a new council president in the next 4 years. A lot of people talk about the Minneapolis system being a weak mayoral system, and to a certain extent I get the point, but if it's a weak mayor system, then it's a weak city council system, a weak city coordinator system with an independent school board and park board to boot. What we have is a decentralized system, and the only way that you get things done in a decentralized system is if you're willing to build out a broad-based coalition. And I have been willing to do exactly that. I have a wonderful relationship with Councilmember Alondra Cano on the City Council. I have a wonderful relationship with Council President Barb Johnson. I'm proud of that. You need to have a broad coalition if you want to get something done. And have I agreed with both of them on everything? Absolutely not. But you do need to be willing to work with others. Mayor Hodges has explicitly stated that that was something that she did not prioritize in the last 4 years, and the only way you get something done in this city is if you do prioritize relationships. So going forward, I think that's exactly what the mayor, whoever next that may be, needs to work on very hard.
Tom Hoke, if she has her own race to concede with, but if Barb Johnson wins re-election, would you support her as council president?
Are you asking, would I support her in getting elected or if she were elected?
Well, whatever you want to do, but I'm really more about whether she should be council president if she's reelected.
Yeah, I think that's a decision for the city council, and we could have some new council members, so they will have to make a decision, and if Barb wants to be council president, she will have to make that case to those individuals. However, I feel that I've in a weak mayor system. I haven't been mayor before, and I haven't been a council member before. But what I've been able to do is work with a broad group of people over a number of years to achieve real outcomes. And if we look at the theaters on Hennepin Avenue, that was a reflection of working with the city, working with elected officials, creating a vision, enrolling people in it, and bringing people together to make things happen. And so whoever is the city council president, whoever is on the city council, I look forward to valuing my relationships with them and building a network of trust and mutual support to best serve the residents of the city of Minneapolis.
Mayor Hodges?
Well, I was a council member for 8 years. I served on 2 city councils, and when I became mayor, I knew enough to know that it is not the mayor's job to select the new council president, that is the council's job. And so whatever the constellation of new council members, they will have to decide who their leadership is, and it will be my job as mayor to work with that leadership. Minneapolis has a legislative system. Right, the governor has the power of veto. The governor puts up names for department heads, the equivalent of department heads at the state, and the governor puts forward a budget. It's a similar situation here. And over the last 4 years as mayor, absolutely, I have worked well with people to get a lot of things done. But at the same time, I've been willing to use my powers as mayor to make sure certain things didn't happen, to make sure that certain things didn't happen, and I've taken tough stands. I've had to make sure that people knew where I stand, because that is part of what leadership is. So every accomplishment that I've talked about here today, I've had to get the coalition built to get it done, and I'm proud of that. But sometimes in the midst of that, I had to take a tough stand. And some of those tough stands, I haven't heard my opponents talk about where they would stand on those issues, and I'm curious.
Nekima Levy-Pounds, council president position. If Barb Johnson wins, would you support her?
Well, I think that first it's important to address the fact that Barb Johnson holds power that has been in her family for about 40 years. And there's a lot of concern in the community about one family having that much control over what happens in the city. And I have no personal issues with Barb, except what I have personally experienced and when advocating for a repeal of the laws against spitting and lurking in 2015, we worked very hard, my law students and I, to do research about the lurking and spitting laws, present that research to City Council, to educate City Council members, and to develop a broad-based coalition of stakeholders who came forward and advocated for a repeal of those particular laws. We also encourage young people to come to City Hall to testify about the impacts of those antiquated laws on their lives. Now, when it was all said and done, it took 2 months to get those laws repealed, and they were repealed by a vote of 12-1 at a time when people did not think that it could be done. The lone person who did not vote to repeal those two laws was Barb Johnson, which I thought was unacceptable, especially given the fact that she represents North Minneapolis, a part of town that has experienced political neglect and economic disenfranchisement. That's completely unacceptable. And so I would like to see new City Council leadership. I particularly support Stephanie Gasca for the 4th Ward City Council seat. If, by whatever circumstance, Barb Johnson is reelected, I would work with her just as I would any other city council member. But I do want to issue a call for new leadership on the city council, as well as with the office that I'm seeking.
Representative Ray Dehn on the Barb Johnson question.
I don't believe it's the mayor's role to get involved in who the city council selects as their president. I will say that, you know, I always push back on when people say it's a weak mayor system, because I actually think it's a system where the council is where a lot of policy is generated from. And the perception is that that makes the mayor's position weak. The mayor's position is not weak. They set the budget. They determine who the police chief is, as well as the appointments of all the other department directors. And of course, as a mayor, you have the bully pulpit to be out in the community talking about the issues that you think are critical. So I would say that the only time it's a weak mayor system is when we have a weak mayor. But beyond that, when I think about the council members and my ability to work with them, I've worked with almost all of them in my capacity as a state representative. And I have what I would say is great working relationships with them, as well as, you know, a lot of the candidates that are currently running for office. And, you know, at the Capitol, I've learned that I don't always have to agree with people to be able to work with them. And I think that's the key thing, that not only does the mayor and the council have to understand, but also I think it's a culture that needs to develop within the council as well. Because if the council's not working well as a group of folks, then I think it puts a much, much larger burden on that relationship between the council and the mayor to try to do what's important for the people of Minneapolis.